Hello, everybody. This is our lunchtime chat, and I am so excited because today we are going to talk about the educational journey to healthy hair. And so this was really sparked because the word science is really trending. And I'm always talking about its importance, but we really need to understand how it can affect our hair or our knowledge about science can really optimize its health. And so it really is essential. And today I am joined with Dr. Chandra Ade-Browne, who is a recent cosmetic science grad and a healthy hair advocate. Not only did she learn about the science, but she implemented it into her healthy hair regimen, and you will be able to hear all about it because I really do feel that her hair is beautiful. I've been admiring it for years now.
Thank
And
you.
so we will touch on what it takes to become a hair care scientist, how science can help you to know what is best for your hair, and the secret to growing type 4C hair. All right. And so, just in case you are new to the chat and you don't really know who I am, my name is Dr. Crystal Porter, and I am a hair scientist and owner of Main Insights, a company that conducts research. And this is a live online broadcast platform dedicated to elevating the Black hair care industry and empowering consumers and hair professionals with education that is driven and backed by scientific data and research. So I am passionate about this, and it's the main reason why I also assist hair practitioners in getting data to validate their hair services. And so before we jump into it, I want to go over a couple of things. But the first one is I want to know who has joined us on the chat. And so please let us know where you're watching from and really ask questions as they come into your head. So if you are a hair practitioner, please put the number 1 in the comments. If you are a consumer, put the number 2. And if you are a researcher or a scientist such as me and Dr. Chandra, sorry,
Sorry.
you can put the number 3. And so also share this broadcast if you think there's anyone who can benefit from the information, would love for you to share it with them. And so this platform is really for people who are frustrated with the lack of information available when it comes to caring for your hair. And also, if you've wasted a lot of time and money and resources just trying to figure things out on your own, you are definitely in the right place. So one last thing before we get started, if you haven't done so already, I do have a very valuable resource called The 3 Biggest Mistakes to Avoid When Caring for Your Curly Hair. And so if you want that, you can actually look on the screen right now and be able to get it. Go to www.ourblackhairmatters.com. And then also, if you have a pressing concern or you need to have a conversation about your hair, I do have vetted team members who are hair professionals who can help you out. So you can put in, you can go to bit.ly, OBHM Consult, and get the information about how to get started, and you'll get a free 15-minute consultation. All right, so without any further ado, let's go ahead and clap for and really invite you to the stage. I'm so happy that you have joined me.
Yes, thank you for having me. Thank you so much. And it feels full circle because as the viewers might not know, I reached out to Dr. Crystal Porter back in, I think it was my second year of graduate school. So I was writing a paper on the ethnic differences in hair, and I was looking for articles and I kept seeing her name pop up. And one of them I couldn't access. So there was this website called ResearchGate, which I guess is kind of like social media for researchers, because you can ask people directly, hey, can you send me your paper? I can't access it either, just like maybe VPN country issues or just, whatever reason you can't access it. So I emailed her and she responded right away and she sent it to me and she's like, oh, I have other ones too. So here you go. And I was telling her what I was working on. And she just sent so much more. She's like, just let me know if I can help you with anything. I was like, oh my gosh, not only did she respond, she responded quickly. She sent me a whole bunch of stuff and she's really nice. So it kind of went from there. And then we end up staying in contact, and she's been like a mentor through she has been a mentor through my graduate school experience. And now I get to join you on the chat. So I'm really excited about that. I guess I can tell a little bit more about myself.
Yeah, please do.
Yeah, so I've graduated recently with my PhD in pharmaceutical sciences, and the concentration is cosmetic science. And that's from the University of Cincinnati. And that was just in August 2021. So excited to finally cross the finish line. I am done with school for now. I want to say forever, but I'm a lifelong learner, so I won't say forever. But I'm done with school for now. And before that, like my journey that led me there, I would say it would really started back in high school for me, because up until then I was getting perms and getting my hair chemically relaxed and chemically straightened. And I just didn't like it. I never liked it from a kid. You know, I always matched it up to the box that how my hair was supposed to come out, and it never came out like that. So it was frustrating. And then it burned. So I was just like, what am I getting out of this? Like, my hair doesn't look like the girl in the box. My scalp hurts and my hair is not long. So I was just really frustrated. So I just pretty much went natural. I didn't have a plan. This was like maybe 2007. So YouTube just started. You know, there was some natural hair gurus on YouTube, but everyone was just starting. You know, the social media was new, blogs were new. So everyone was just kind of walking around in the dark and trying to help each other along. But I really had no plan, no idea what I was doing. All I know is I wanted to stop perming. And surprisingly, people think that like, oh, you're Black, you grew up Black, it's Black hair. You should just be able to ask people around you, other Black relatives and everything. But if everyone is perming their hair and no one knows how to take care of your natural hair, it's like you're right back at where you started. So I had to go to the internet or searching like I was doing. So I cut my hair. I was rocking my natural afro. It was short for a while, but I really didn't know what to do with it. And it wasn't until I got to college that I met another Nigerian girl. So I'm Nigerian. I was born in New York. She was also Nigerian, born in New York, but she had the hair down to her back. And I was just like, how did you do that? Because I thought that was impossible. And she was telling me, no, you need to do this. You need to avoid that. You have to take care of it like this. So she started putting me onto game. So I was like, okay, this is really interesting. So she told me what shampoos to buy, and I was following everything that she did, except some of the things were questionable to me. Like, don't do this, or like hearing weird stuff like the inversion method, where you have to like, sit down on the bed with your head upside down to let the blood flow go to your head. Or, there was just some strange things, that I was just like, how is this scientifically backed? Like, how does that even make any sense? And then more so, even if it is working for Black hair, that's great, but why? So that question of why does it work and why do we do that? That always really bothered me. And I think in conjunction to me having my own hair journey, I also had my own skin journey, because I had really bad acne in high school. So I was trying a whole bunch of natural methods, doing DIY stuff. So now I'm at this point in college where I'm, going through my natural hair journey, going through my skincare journey. And I had all these questions about what the science was behind it. So I just Googled, like, I think I typed in something like hair, science, skin, major, something like that. And I got to this page that was like Beauty and Brains, or the beauty blogger. And they had listed out a whole bunch of majors that people in this industry typically have. And it was like chemistry, biology, a couple of different engineerings. I was like, well, the engineering students look stressed. Biology is not really going that well, because that professor said he was dedicated to weeding out people. And then chemistry, I said, okay, chemistry is not bad. It's like applied math, which I'm good at math. So I think, chemistry sounds like a good bet. And at that time I was pre-med. So I was like, okay, that will let me do pre-med, get my chemistry degree, and also have the opportunity for cosmetic science, open. So it was a strategic choice, but I'm going to fast forward. I'm just saying that my journey started in like 2007, but I came to know that there's cosmetic science, and that there were other programs or graduate school programs that were about this, that would actually teach you, skin and science to that deep level, and the products that are used. So it was like 2014, I believe, that when I applied. So I applied to different schools. I accepted and started my graduate school degree at University of Cincinnati in 2015. And so that catches us right back up to the future. But it's been something I've been passionate about from a personal standpoint, but also an academic standpoint for many years, and it's definitely my passion.
Wow. So your story ooh, I have a little background feedback.
Is
I wonder
there?
what that's about. You don't have another mic on, do you?
No, I don't.
Okay, so I don't know what that's about. Okay, it went away. Okay, we're good.
Okay.
So I'm curious because you are so much like other people who want to get into the industry.
Mm-hmm.
There is a growing number of people who just they know out of high school that this is a field that they want to go into. And when I was in school, I never even thought that there was anything like this. And I think
Yeah.
because of the healthy hair movement and people wanting to learn more and really feed themselves knowledge, they want to know about that.
Yeah.
And so I think you sharing this is awesome because I think it'll help others to navigate through the process as well.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And I hope that my sharing my story does help other people. But along the way, I've also found out other ways to enter this field, because I think you can have a passion for cosmetic science, you can have a passion for beauty, but you don't necessarily need to be the science person. You could be passionate, be the marketing person. You could be passionate about it and you be the manager person, or you could be that person who starts their own line. So there's different angles, and I'm all about like understanding your strengths, your weaknesses, and what motivates you. And then you find that and then you apply it to your entry point. And also whether or not you're more hands-on, because they're like micro shading, microblading. There's estheticians, trying to think, hairstylists, obviously, trichologists. So there's many different ways to enter into this field, into the beauty field, into the cosmetic science field. You just have to find like what matches up with what you want to do. I specifically am motivated by that question, why? Like, why is it like this? Or how can we make it better? So I feel like if you have a desire to understand why, and you have a desire to create new knowledge, meaning that something we didn't know before and you just discovered it, whether that means like learning more about the scalp, learning more about hair textures, or learning more about maybe you could be that person that creates some new hair growth molecule. If you're that person, then the science academia side more fits you. And there is, I would also say that you can go into industry too and get that science research part of you fulfilled. It just depends on the company and looking at how big their R&D is.
No, you are absolutely, those are great things to consider. I want to take just a slight pause because there are some people who are here. I want to recognize, hey, Renee, thanks for joining. Taria's here, and also Nicole Favor. So thank you so much for joining. And if you have any questions, be sure to put it in the chat. We can definitely see it. And I'm surprised that I'm able to see names right now because a lot of time Facebook, if you don't give it approval for StreamYard to allow you to be seen, then it just has, just Facebook user or something. Hey, Vanessa, thank you. Really appreciate you coming in. And anybody else? Okay, so I wanted to ask you about the steps that it took for you to obtain your doctorate degree.
Mm-hmm.
Because you went to an accredited institution.
Yeah.
And I specify accredited institution because I think that it's so much on the internet that's out there that really attracts people who want to learn more, but it's not necessarily from an accredited institution. And so I want our listeners and our viewers to be aware that there is a way that you can get education through an accredited institution where you can get a diploma and a degree. And that's a little bit different than getting like a certification or a license.
Right.
And so I'd like for you to kind of explain your journey through your graduate studies.
Yes. So I will have to take this moment to shout out McNair. So the Office of McNair Student Scholars, because they are an initiative that is focused on getting underrepresented students up to their PhD or at least into graduate school. So I was a McNair scholar in undergraduate, and that's how I got my first research experience. And they also guided us through and gave us tips on what does applying to graduate school look like, how to search for different programs and whatnot. So a lot of my knowledge did come from them. But I will say, because my interest in cosmetic science was so unique, there wasn't that many resources to specifically help me there. So, you know, I went to Google, like everyone's favorite resource. Yeah. I went to Google to see what programs were out there. And I found that there are a couple in the UK. I think there was one in Indonesia, I think a fragrance house type of like assistantship in France. And then there were some programs in the US. So I wanted to stay in the US. It just sounded like financially more feasible. And also I wanted to be able to access my family when I wanted to. So when I looked up at that time in 2014, there was the program at University of Cincinnati, at Rutgers University, at Long Island University, and at Fairleigh Dickinson. There might be more today, but those are the 4 primary ones that I knew of. So I applied to all of them. And for the majority or all of them, you need to take a GRE. I forgot what GRE stands for right now, but it's essentially the graduate school version of the SAT. And then you also need to write a personal statement. So stating why are you interested in this program? Maybe sometimes it might ask you like whose research you're specifically interested in, and also maybe discussing like your career aspirations. So what do you plan to do with this degree? So usually it's a GRE and a personal statement. And then I wouldn't say there's a certain GPA, but the higher your GPA, the more doors will be open. And not to say that if your GPA is lower, that you won't get those same opportunities. You just might have to network harder, or you might have to do supplementary things. Like there are also programs or bridge programs to get you into graduate school. So that's an option as well. But personally, I took the GRE, had to study really hard for it. And I didn't take a course, but I did use a official a GRE book by the Princeton Reviews, and I implemented their techniques, because that one is more of a speed thing. Because I think it's discussed like the math is pretty much high school math, but there's so many questions and it's the timing that you really need a strategy. You can't do it like the long-handed way that you learned in high school. So GRE, I would say don't be intimidated by it, because most of it's up to high school, maybe freshman year of college level for the writing and the math, but it's all about strategy. So you should focus on strategy. And then personal statement. I think it's important to talk about who you are, but talk about your aspirations, and also whatever you want them to know, because you're branding yourself. You want to let them know that you are a passionate student, you're passionate about cosmetic science, but also you have skills. And those skills include whatever your background is. My background was chemistry. So I know that with a chemistry background, even if I am working on a chemistry project that relates directly, but also I can think logically, I have experience in the lab, I'm looking to get more. So that makes myself more attractive there.
So Vanessa looked up GRE, because when you said you didn't know what it stood for, I was like, I only know 2. I know graduate and exam, but it's actually the graduate records examination.
Yes, thank you, Vanessa, because I already forgot.
And also, me too. Also, thanks for sharing with your natural hair group and also your daughter, Vanessa. I appreciate that as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. So before you even get to grad school, you take the GRE, and that's very typical for anyone who want to go into post-secondary education. So.
Yeah. Yeah. And then you might depend now after those 2 points, a GRE and a personal statement, that just depends on the program and how they decide to conduct interviews. How do they decide to invite candidates back? So that one is more specific, so I can't really explain that one. But for University of Cincinnati, how we did it then, certain candidates were invited by professors who were interested in their holistic profile, who met the criteria for the program. And then they were invited to come to Cincinnati, check out the program, learn more, and then also conduct a one-on-one interview. And at that point, the professor made an offer, and it was up to the student to accept or not. And I'll also add another thing that people don't know is with the some master's program, but a lot of science PhDs, they often have a scholarship that covers tuition. as well as provides a living stipend. And that living stipend is earned through either the research you do or maybe some teaching assistantships. So that's another thing, because I had someone contact me recently concerned about finances and how that might be a hurdle in pursuing her dreams. And I said, I want her to know that there are scholarships available. So, just make sure you reach out when you're doing your research to find a program that you're looking for. Make sure you ask them those two, because you don't want there to be an invisible hurdle,
Right. So excellent point. I think that it's kind of intimidating for people to think about graduate school. And so you mentioned that you got your PhD, but you also can get a master's degree. And I'm curious, what made you get the PhD? What did you want to do in your career that said, oh, I'm not going to stop at a master's, I'm going to keep going?
Yeah, so mine is more unique because I actually got my master's and my PhD. Some people just go straight to the PhD. Well, at the master's level, I was working on one project and I learned a lot more because, it's post-secondary education. So obviously it is going to be a higher education level, a higher expectation. But also with the PhD, I just knew about the opportunities that were going to be available to me career-wise. Mm-hmm. But secondly, I also knew it was going to be an opportunity for me to grow as a scientist, because as a PhD, you are meant to become an expert on whatever that topic is. So you need to become an expert on research. You need to be an expert on how to problem solve, because not everything is going to go according to plan, and that's just science. And then, to be honest, it's just life. In general, you also need to learn how to strategize, and you need to learn how to think. And this is how it was described to me at my first job. You need to learn how to think deep, and you know how to think wide. So I can really tell a huge difference between the level of scientist that I became at my PhD versus when I was at my master's versus at undergraduate. So each level requires a higher degree of independent thinking, critical thinking, problem solving skills. And because you have those skills, which are just in general transferable, when you graduate with your PhD, you're able to either go into academia and lead a lab, or go into industry and lead a project and maybe lead other people, because you have those skills that became the basis of you as an effective scientist.
Yeah. Because if you think about how you think you have enough information at whatever level you're at, I don't think you can really appreciate what you obtain if you go to higher levels.
Yes.
It's just difficult to explain unless you've been through it.
It's really indescribable. I think, just as what you were saying, I remember being in my senior year of high school and we had to write a 10-page paper. And I remember thinking, this is so difficult. This is so long. How am I supposed to get this done? And, that's 2009, and fast forward to 2021, and I'm writing over 400 pages.
Got a book.
Yeah, a whole book. Yes, exactly. And that was difficult too. So it's just more of like, there's more that's required, and you won't know. When you're in the moment, it feels like a lot until you move on to something that's higher. Then you realize, oh, back then it wasn't that bad.
Yeah, you are absolutely right. Thank you for that. So I'm curious about what you thought was the most challenging aspect of going through the process of becoming so I'll say in the cosmetics area, because I know you haven't declared, what you're going to do after your graduate studies. So in the cosmetic science space, what do you think was the hardest thing that you had to overcome?
I would say the hardest thing I had to overcome was figuring out what my options were, and then where the opportunities were. And I say that because while I was applying for graduate school, I always have like a plan A, B, and C. So graduate school was, yes, it was one of my options, but I was also thinking, what if I just went straight into industry? Except that I didn't really have an idea how to do that. So I think I was just like cold calling companies and cold emailing, hoping that somebody would respond and reach back to me. So that was difficult. And I still hear that. The reason I bring that up is because I was contacted recently by someone who's in their undergraduate saying that she doesn't know where to find co-op. She doesn't know where to find internships. So I think that's something that still can be an issue for people. And I think because cosmetic science is more of a niche field, and also people don't really know what it is. They think cosmetology and they think hairstylist. And also because the products that we use that are cosmetic science, like your toothpaste, like your nail polish, like eye drops, I'm trying to think anything else, like hair shampoo. It's kind of like in the background. So you're not really thinking that this is something, you're not thinking about maybe the company who's behind it, but you have a lot of these consumer product goods companies that are huge, that are doing a lot of big research. So you have to know where to look. And I guess a good way to look, someone said the other day, she looked at her shampoo, she looked at the back of the label, she saw that, it was like Unilever or Procter & Gamble or something. They looked at it, found that company, and then had to look for those internship experiences. But I will say that, so that was a major hurdle, but getting into graduate school, especially when you have a university has a partnership, they can bring those resources to you. And definitely if you're in college right now, please rely heavily on your career services, because a lot of the hurdles that I experienced, could have been alleviated by relying on those people who are experts to, sniff out where the opportunities are. Mm-hmm. And I will also say during graduate school, funding can be an issue too. And it kind of just depends on everyone's situation is different. Normally the professor has a grant, and from that grant that funds the research. And that grant can be either government financed, or it can be financed through a separate private company. Like some of the projects I did were in conjunction with Procter & Gamble. So they finance some of those research grants. That's not really the graduate student's job to find the funds, but it is the graduate student's job to be aware if a project is being funded, because if your project's not being funded, then you can't do the work. If you can't do the work, then it becomes it can be dicey on whether or not you can finish your degree or how long it's going to take you. So I would say that can also be a major hurdle as well.
No, you're absolutely right. And one of the things that you were saying about reaching out to companies who are on the back of the bottles, I've seen a trend, and I don't know where this came from, but I think maybe one person did it, so people are following suit. But like on LinkedIn, which is another social media platform, which is supposed to be more professional, there'll be like a comment that one of the companies will say, and then in the comments, you'll have a lot of people who are looking to be employed say, hey, you got any jobs? You got any jobs? And I'm shocked to see that. Because I'm like, I would never put in a chat for a major corporation, do you have a job? Or I've been trying, I've seen people say, I've reached out and I haven't heard back. I saw this job position and I would like to apply, what should I do? And I'm not necessarily sure that that's the way to do it. I would advise it. But I think, networking, being a part of their groups, going to different societies, so there is a Society of Cosmetic Chemists here in the US, and in the UK, there's the Society of Cosmetic Science. So there are different organizations that you can be a part of that have members who are in those spaces that you want to be in. So it's all about networking, right?
It is. And so glad you brought that up. I agree. I personally would not just comment on a major international group and just say, you have a job for me. Maybe somebody's been successful during that. I just would not. And I wouldn't advise anybody that I'm mentoring to do that either. But yeah, networking. And a lot of people are like, what is networking? How do they do it? And I think I love LinkedIn. I'm a big advocate for using LinkedIn to network more so than other social medias, because to me, I feel like it's more casual and, sometimes people don't exactly post where they're working and all that stuff, versus LinkedIn, they tell you what the job position is, where they're working. And now they even have these status updates that tell you now hiring or looking for work or things like that. And I think if you get like LinkedIn Premium and you see a job that you want, you can also might be able to see who posted it. So you have to be strategic. So networking, not meaning that you need to be everybody's friend and you need to be on everyone's live stream. You need to be on everyone's, posts, but being strategic. Okay, like this is a job I'm interested in. Okay, what type of companies have this type of job? Okay, who would be more likely to post those type of jobs? It's probably the recruiter. So maybe you should get in contact with the recruiter or hiring manager. And if you can't get those people, another good way is to also just network with people in research and development, because the people in research and development, one, they're probably working a job position that is similar to what you want to do, so you can hear their experience. And two, they're in the company already, so they might be able to connect you with that recruiter or with that hiring manager. So I'm all about strategic networking and make sure you talk to the right people and doing the right moves rather than just saying like, hey, can I get a job? Because there's just so many questions in that, like your profession, like it shows to me a lack of professional etiquette. And two, what job, where? We're multi-international company. So in what country, with what team? So it just shows that companies want to hire people that are going to bring them value as well. And it just seems like you're a little bit more take when you just leave a comment like that.
Right. Agree.
Yeah.
So I want to ask you about, we've touched on things regarding navigating through the process, but I want to ask you from your recent experience, what do you think you did right? And what do you think you could have done differently?
Yes. So what I think I did right was the networking piece that I talked about, because I will connect with people on any type of question I have. If I'm interested in a company, or like with you, when I reached out to you about the paper, I will do it, because to me, the worst I can get is a no or no response. And then I'm back in the same place where I started. So it was really no risk to me to just try. And I met like some mentors through LinkedIn as well, just like, hey, what was your experience? What do you think about this program? How do you think it fits with da-da-da? Like you want to get more information to make better decisions. So I think I did that piece right. Looking back, I think I would have maybe expanded my search of graduate school programs, because like I mentioned before, I looked at cosmetic science graduate programs and I applied to all of them. But now in hindsight, I think I would have applied to maybe some more chemistry programs, some more polymer programs, and even I think there was even like an engineering program that was I think it was at OSU that was interesting, that relates to fabric. So they're more of like fabric and textiles, which you wouldn't think hair at first, but hair is a textile, hair is fabric. And that information that they take from like sheep's wool, that a lot of the same techniques go into understanding human hair as well. So those are some things I just didn't know. And how I would have advised 2015 Chandra then, I would have said to go on Google Scholar and type in some keywords that I find interesting. So maybe I'm really interested in hair growth. So I would have went to scholar.google.com and typed in hair regrowth and looked at the articles that pop up and see who's publishing. Because with academia and the research that people are doing, they need to publish it in order to share the information with others, as well as to kind of like, leave their mark on the field, and creating that new knowledge is a way of documentation. But also, if you find that this one professor at, X university publishes a lot about hair regrowth, a lot about this hair scalp, a lot about, black hair, maybe, you would want to look at that person's name, see what university that professor works at, and then find out what program that is, because it might not lead to cosmetic science program. It might lead to polymer engineering, right? But you know that in this polymer engineering, you already know there's a professor doing exactly what you're interested in. And you can do the same thing with any other keywords too, like, skin regeneration, or, burn, like maybe coming up with, what's the word I want to use? Like a fake skin for people who have been in burn victims. So you can do anything like that. I think going backwards, I definitely would have looked up to see who's doing the type of research that I'm interested in, then finding out the program that department that they're in and what program that is, and then applying to that more. And another reason why I say that is because with cosmetic science, as great as it is, and I love it, because with our courses, it was like, a little bit of chemistry. There was some physics in there. There was also some biology as well. And I really love the interdisciplinary nature of that. But also there is an advantage, or not, I don't want to say advantage over, but there is a different type of advantage when you are doing a more zoomed out type of science like chemistry, because you can go in any direction that you want to, because like that list that I found, many years ago, when a chemist can go into a cosmetic science company, as well as maybe a petrochemical company, as well as, maybe a glass fabrication company. So it just depends on what you're looking for. And I'm not interested in those things, but I'm just saying that options are always going to be the better position in life. If you have options, you can always change your course or whatever. So I think that would have definitely applied to more programs that might not have been traditionally cosmetic science in the exact title.
I agree 100%. 100%. When people come to me before they go to graduate school, that's one of the things that I introduce to them so that they can think long and hard about how they can, really niche in. Because if you go to a particular school and the professor isn't necessarily getting the funding to support what you want to do, you can always do exactly what you said, network while you're in school to be able to get in the position that you want to get in, but acquiring those skills that are needed in the industry for whatever the discipline you're in. And to be honest, there are so many STEM fields, meaning science, technology, engineering, and math. There are a lot of STEM fields that overlap with the need in cosmetic and science.
Yeah, exactly.
So speaking of that, I want to know, and then I want to get a little bit more personal with you. So this is the last question that pertains to the pathway forward. But I'm curious as to what research gaps are motivating you to make a difference in the field. I'm just curious because you have a lot of experiences and you've seen a lot. So what gaps exist that motivate you?
Yeah, I see a lot of gaps in terms of the underserved community. So, and what I mean is that I would just say more highly melanated people. And that could be, yes, we think Black people, but also there are a lot of dark skinned people in India, around the world, just skincare and hair care towards that group. And I would say I did more hands-on work with hair. I'm being a little cryptic just because of the IP protection, but even a lot of the studies that are done, some products that go out, the standard model is straight hair. The standard model is skin that's not that melanated. So, and then it's given out to everyone. And not saying that this is, evil big corporation that is out to hurt or harm people who are, more melanated or have different hair textures. It just means that they're underserved, as in the research is not being targeted to what their actual needs may be. And there's a lot of research, I think, that has been done in silos that hasn't really been pulled together to actually make more effective products that are actually going to be useful to those communities. So, for example, there are companies that are coming out now with like products that are targeted to more, textures, hair textures that they need like this or higher, more moisturization. These people, this particular group likes to style, but they like to style with this type of cream. That type of information wasn't known before. And now they're trying to meet that research gap. But I still think there's a lot more in terms of especially like the Black community, alopecia. I don't think that's really been addressed in terms of in a wide, more mainstream way. I think also how to take care of your hair, because Black people, Black women use a lot of protective hairstyles and using extensions. I haven't seen a lot of research onto how that affects the actual, the person's hair growing out of their head. Just a lot. I can just keep listing them off. So that's what I mean by underserved, in that some of these products, they might not be harmful, but they also might not be beneficial as to the same degree as they might for another community. So I think there's a lot of research gaps that need to be addressed so that, this group can get their needs met in terms of what that means moisturization, whether that's skin aging, whether that's, hypo or hyperpigmentation. I think that research needs to be done. And it has a lot to do with funding. It has to do with funding as well as interest, and also just caring about that group that that you need to serve.
Yeah. I agree 100%. I think you said it all. So before we jump into like your hair and things that you've learned as a part of your process, I want to acknowledge some other people who actually spoke out. So we have Emily here. We have, and I hope I don't mispronounce your name too bad, Falashadi. She says great information. And then Nadia says hi. So thank you guys for joining. Really appreciate you being here. All right. So let's kind of shift gears. Now I want to talk about your hair in particular, because a lot of naturalistas, it sounds like you transitioned after having a relaxer for a number of years, and you went to YouTube, went to Google, trying to figure out what was right for you. But I think the perspective of having that scientific mindset in terms of your approach is really unique. So most people are familiar with the Andre Walker method of classification. So will you share what hair type you have?
Yes. So by that Andre Walker classification, that's like 1, 2, 3, or 4, and then sub meaning A, B, and C, and 4C meaning that's the most kinkiest or tightest coil. So most of my hair would say it's a 4C, and I think how people try to like eyeball it is that can it fit around like a pencil, and because that's a really tight coil. So most of my hair is 4C. In the back of my head, it's more like 4B because the curls are they're more like curls because they're really loose. And that kind of messes up my hairstyle because sometimes it looks like I have like a mullet going on because the shrinkage is a lot more in the front than in the back. So it's knowing all that also affects your styling as well. So 4C hair, and which is horrible. That is, it's branded the most difficult hair. And I don't want to say most difficult. I like to say it needs the most care.
Yeah,
it needs the most care. You need to be gentle with it. And I think so when I did that paper, the ethnic hair science, ethnic differences in hair, I found out, these coils, each rotation is a potential weak point. So, and then also learning about the shape of the hair and how also, moisturization levels. So all that kind of played a role into how I take care of my hair, mostly being that I'm very, very gentle. My preference is to do finger detangling because I found that when I was early on into becoming natural, I combed a lot. And I think that's because the YouTube videos told me to. Like I detangled before I got in the shower. I think I detangled again in the shower. And then when I got out after conditioning and everything, I found I was tangled again. So now I'm detangling again. And I'm like wondering why so much hair is coming out, because my texture, I like to think of like, I don't know the age group on this live stream right now, but back when phones used to have cords, they were really thick and they would get tangled around each other. Or like I also say a slinky. If you think of the slinky, if you put two together, sometimes it can get really entangled. So that is how I like to picture my hair. So I like to make sure they stay as separate as possible and be as gentle as possible. So finger detangling helps me to do that. And I also realize there's a concept of over detangling, because there's a point where if you keep having curls and you bring them together and they snap, and they bring them together and they snap again, that's not helping you grow hair. And I'm going to use grow hair as my segue, because a lot of Black women are concerned about growing hair. How do I make my hair grow? How do I make my hair grow? That is genetics. So your genetics are going to program how fast your hair grows. And that's just a certain rate per month. And you just need to accept it, really internalize it, and it's okay. And I think that's why I think one of the methods I did was I measured my hair at the beginning of the month and I measured towards the end of the month. And I think what was commonly said is that you grow half an inch a month. Mine is like 0.2, maybe 0.25. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, now I know. So now I know when I go from this month to the next month, I know if it's really growing, as it should, because that's just literally its only job, to grow. But it's more thinking about growth. It's not necessarily thinking about growth, but hair retention. So the hair that is growing out of my scalp, I want to make sure that I'm taking care of my ends. I'm making sure that I'm taking care of the hair that I do have. And like I said, that's with the finger detangling, with moisturization, with, protein treatments everywhere, here and there, and also different experimentations. So for example, this is a very concrete example. I think I was just looking up coconut oil and hair, just doing, being a graduate student, being curious as I am as a person. I looked up, there was a study where they looked at coconut oil, I think it was linseed oil, and mineral oil, and they had different types of hair, and they soaked each type of hair in the different oils, and then they did different treatments. So one, they treated it with shampoo, so like just a typical SLS shampoo. Another one, I think they did like hot water to, just simulate if you were to take a hot bath and how does that affect your hair. And I can't remember the third treatment right now, but they found that with out of all the oils, coconut oil was actually able to prevent damage from the hair, and they measured damage as the proteins coming off the hair. And so even though that's very much at the like nano level, after a while, proteins build up to larger molecules, those larger molecules being your hair fibers. So the information was that, coconut oil is actually able to prevent hair damage. So I started using coconut oil as my pre-poo treatment to prevent the damage that potential shampoos can cause just during the regular process. So that's something I do faithfully, including with the hair detangling. And then I also think about like what my hair needs. I pay attention to my scalp a lot. So I also change the way that I take care of my hair. I think before it used to be like kind of like you're washing clothes at the river and just like really going at it and being very rough. Again, 4C hair being that it's not difficult, it just needs a lot of care. It needs patience, it needs tenderness. I'm not going to do that to my hair anymore, and I don't. Now I'm more focused on my scalp and what it needs. So I'm going to massage my scalp with the palm of my fingers and not my nails to scratch it up, because that's your skin. Scalp is just another form of skin, and I don't want to make cuts. So I'm going to massage that in, and then I let what water needs to come down, the hair come down. I only really put shampoo in my actual hair if I know I put a lot of product in it, or maybe I went through like somewhere that's dusty. But I really don't worry too much about actually shampooing my hair, because I don't need it to be squeaky clean. And also to say that most Black hair needs a lot of moisturization. So why would I keep stripping my hair to make it squeaky clean? How does that serve me? How does that serve my hair? It doesn't. So my thing is scalp health and also being gentle. I'm trying to see if there's anything else that I do. Oh yeah. Another thing I learned during graduate school is hairstyle and protective styles, because some protective styles, yes, they're cute, but they're not that protective. Some of them are actually abusive styles. Yeah, like traction alopecia is real. And traction alopecia means alopecia or baldness, hair baldness caused by traction or pulling. And so if you're doing a style that is pulling really tight, and it's not just at your edges, some people lose hair at the crown of the head, some people lose it at the back of their hair. If your hair is really tight and it comes out, it can come out after a while. It's not going to want to come back. And that's very real. So if your hair is like, I would say if your hair fell out, like use this time to try and love on it, try and get it to come back, stay away from your edges. And that's what I do. I started doing my own hair because I know my hands are a lot, how do I say? Like, it's just not as tight as some of the hair braiders do. So that's another thing. I make sure that my hair is not tight. It's not pulling. I don't feel uncomfortable. I need access to my scalp. Like I said, scalp health is important to me. And then two, I don't change my hairstyle all the time. I think there was a trend like on YouTube too. People would twist their hair in the evening, untwist it in the morning. Twist their hair in the evening, untwist it in the morning. First of all, I don't like all that time that it takes. I'm busy. I don't have time to keep doing that. Oh, yeah.
Me too.
Yeah, over and over again. What I'm gonna do is choose a hairstyle, and I'm just gonna let it. If I had my hair's out like this, so normally it started down here, and then it starts getting smaller and smaller. I just let the hairstyle transform. I'm not gonna keep reapplying, retwisting. No, I just feel like I can do a lot more with my life than that. But also, I choose hairstyles that I don't have to change. So I did a lot of like flat twists going back. I did a lot of like braids. I did a lot of mini twists, which are also great as long as they're not too small. So it's all about like, I think taking care of your 4C hair. And you also, there's another aspect that's deeper too, is like, you need to redefine your own beauty, because if you do want to rock your 4C hair, you can't keep comparing it to 3C, 3A girls. And you need to be comfortable, like, this is what it looks like, and this is how I like myself to look. And that's okay if you want to go a different route, but just know that if you want your 4C hair to grow, you need to do things that your 4C hair likes, which is don't bother it. Don't bother it. Like, clean it, keep your scalp clean, but I would normally keep a hairstyle for like a week, maybe 2, but I typically wash my hair once a week. So those are all things that I've pulled from different research, and figuring out like how to best take care of my hair. So I think, and my hair shrinks a lot, so you can't tell, but I think right now it's like, I think it's like bra strap length or something. Yeah, so I just keep it going, because I never thought I could grow hair that long. Especially, I told you, think back to like young Chandra, and I'm like, why doesn't my hair look like this perm box is not growing? But now my hair is longer than that, and that's because I take care of it. I give it the care that it needs, and I'm gentle and I'm patient. Patient because I know my hair is only going to grow like 0.2 inches a month, and I'm okay with that.
I'm here with you. It sounds like we're pretty close, even though my looser curled hair is like around my temple area and then just right at the baseline. And then everything else is definitely 4C. So, yeah, I totally understand that. I think one of the benefits that I had, and I did a video on this a long time ago when it was time for me to color my hair, because I started off getting color when I had a relaxer because I just couldn't take my gray hair anymore. And I didn't think that I would be able to double process and have both a relaxer and color. So what I was able to do, and I mean, I'm nerdy like that, I collected my hair fibers and I would just lay it on the side of the sink. And then after I had enough, I actually took it to, this is my relaxed hair only. And then I took it to my cosmetologist and she tried different shades. So just to see what the color lift would be. And then I took those hair strands and then I wanted to test it to see just how much the strength had been compromised as a result of having color in addition to the relaxed hair. And so eventually I knew that I didn't want to keep doing that. And so I went natural only because I wanted to keep doing the color and I didn't want it to compromise the strength of my hair. So it perks to being a hair scientist.
Yeah.
And you know how you can test things prior to really know what's best for you. But when I was natural, when I worked back at L'Oreal, I had gone natural and it was just too time consuming. So I actually went back to relaxer, but I had, let me see, I grown my hair out at least 15, 16 months. So I had enough hair where I could just take strands of my hair and actually relax it using different formulations. And I found out what formulation was best for my hair in terms of keeping the integrity. So there are definitely some pluses.
Yeah, that's fun. I want to ask a follow-up question. When you said that you tested how much the hair fiber was compromised, the strength, did you do that in the lab, and is there a way for people, everyday people, maybe some of the people on the chat, to like come up with a type of method that they can do in the house?
Yeah, no. So I did it. So 2 ways. So with the color and the relaxed hair, I did not have access to instrumentation. So I just had to play with my hair to see, if it started to yield more, become more plastic, in science. And so it loses its elasticity and ability to bounce back. And so I tested that just because I had been playing with hair for a number of years and I just kind of knew. But with the relaxer, when I was still at L'Oreal, I just put it on the diastron tensile tester, and I got actual values for the strength of my hair. And it was fascinating. It was all over the place in terms of the formulation and the variability. So I made sure that, of course, I chose the relaxer that kept my hair in the most robust form.
That's fun.
It was.
Yeah.
So we did have a couple of comments. So Bloody Hannah, actually on YouTube, she says, I wish I knew when I was younger that I could have had relaxed hair and done that I could have had maybe not had relaxed hair and done twist outs and other styles that didn't require additional heat. That's why my hair never grew when it was relaxed. Oh yeah. So yeah, I understand that. Hindsight is 2020, but I have to say that when you want a more adult look and you want to have your hair straight, especially when you are, becoming of age and you don't want little girl looks, it's really hard to do a relaxed hairstyle if you want it straight. But at the same time, if you want it natural, it's hard to know what you think. I mean, if it's not in line with what everybody else is doing, you don't know if it's okay. And I think when you're growing up and trying to fit in, I'm responding to Bloody Hannah in her comment. I think it's kind of hard when you don't see anybody else doing that. So yeah, it's tough. And it's, as you said, it takes more care and more time. And so because it takes more time, a lot of people don't really want to take the extra effort to make it look the way you want it to.
Yeah. That's definitely fair, because I enjoy taking care of my hair, but I do realize it does take time. But I also have little hacks. I have my long wash day and I have my short wash day when I need to get in and get out.
Yeah, so my get in and get out is really having my hair very similar to yours. That's that Afro puff. So get it cleaned and then just pull it back and keep it moving. Unfortunately, I'm slow. So when I do twist outs and stuff like that, it just takes time. And sometimes I'm able to do it. I put on a good audio book and I just sit there and I twist my hair, or I'm into podcasts, So I've been listening to a lot of Brene Brown. It has nothing to do with hair, but she's
on my list.
Pardon?
I said she's on my list. She talks a lot about like vulnerability and like being at work and how to show up as your authentic self.
Yeah. She's a leadership expert. She does a lot of research, and so it's fascinating to hear everything that she says.
Yeah.
So yeah, just taking that time.
Yeah, it does take time.
So I wanted to make sure that some of the consumers who are on here can get some benefit from this. So it seems like you have like perfected the type of hair that most people find to be more time consuming or needing more care, as you said. So what advice would you give to others who may be having problems with 4C type hair?
I would say it's kind of hard. Sometimes people find the like information that's on YouTube, that's on Instagram, and now on TikTok and whatever new platforms that's about to come out very overwhelming. And I would say a main thing is not really about the products. Yes, the products are helpful, but a lot of times the formulations are very similar, but it's more about how you use them. So like I said, the finger detangling, like the pre-poo is important. And I would say with 4C hair, take your time and water. Like water is moisture, is not oil. Like that, I know that I'm not trying to seem condescending or anything, but that took a while for me to even like realize, going from the blogs versus to the science. Water. And I'm not afraid of shrinkage, because if it's shrinking, then I know it's healthy. If my hair doesn't shrink anymore, that means it's been damaged. So I put water on my hair. I put water or some type of water-based, I do different mixes on my scalp, and I make sure that my scalp is moisturized and healthy, just the same way as I would get into the shower and put lotion on and take care of my body skin. I take care of my scalp skin as well. And I wanted to say too, I think another thing that's not really, it's a balance, because at the same time with someone with 4C hair, and I love it, I do realize it does take time. I think before you quit on 4C hair, get to talk to an expert. And that might be, you know, someone like Dr. Crystal Porter. She has her main insights. It might be your hairstylist, someone who actually knows natural hair care and not just says that they know how to do it, because a lot of people just say a lot of things in their Instagram, but they don't really have the knowledge base. I would also say, before you just get to that quitting point, also realize that you can do blowouts. Some people do blowouts, and then depending on your lifestyle, like if you're not at the gym a lot, you don't sweat a lot. Some people do blowouts and last them for the whole month. So that's another option. Texlax an option as well. I think
you're using terms that people aren't familiar with. So I think you said pre-poo.
Yes.
So can you explain pre-poo?
Okay, I'll go back. Yes, pre-poo is any step that you do before you shampoo. And based off that article that was published, they found that if you use coconut oil, it prevents the damage that shampooing sometimes causes to the hair. So I pre-poo by soaking all my strands with coconut oil before I go into my shampoo step. And then furthermore, when I go into my shampoo step, I focus the product more on my scalp than on my hair strands. And I think the second thing I said was Texlax. I think it stands for texturizer / relaxer.
Yep.
Yeah. So it is another chemical process. So, but it's also another option if you want a curlier look. And then also want to say that it's fine to define beauty as you find it, as long as you're not being pressured by society to conform to a certain way. Because some people have gone natural and they found out, you know what, actually this doesn't fit my schedule, doesn't fit my lifestyle. I do prefer, relaxing my hair, and I'm somehow able to take better care of my relaxed hair than my 4C hair. And that could be a reality for you too. So I don't want it to make it seem like if you're not natural, you're not doing it right, or you're anti-Black or something like that. I think it's all about, as long as you're not doing from an anti-Black, I hate 4C type of intention, but you're more of like, I want to have healthy hair, and how can I do that sustainably? I think it's okay to explore other options. Just make sure, I always want to say, like, don't give up on 4C hair. Don't give up on 4C hair.
No, I agree. And that resonated with Taria because she said, oh, that's so good. Redefine your own beauty. And I agree with that wholeheartedly. I know that earlier, Bloody Hannah mentioned that she also used her fingers to detangle, and she does it once during the conditioning phase, and then in twist. So it stops it from tangling up again. So she cleanses her hair while they're in twists. And I think that that's probably a nice strategy too. Is that something you incorporate?
I do. And I also started doing like, I have like preset parts in my hair as to not keep having to re-go in and tangle. So my hair is pretty much in 4 quadrants. So if I let my hair down and get in the shower, you will see it goes like a part that goes to the back, and by my ears, I have another part there. And I work with those parts all the time. And I got that tip from another YouTuber. But it made sense in terms of like disturbing the hair less, because I don't want to go in with a comb and have it to pull apart pieces of hair again. So yeah, I definitely use the twists and the preset parts. That's helped me a lot too.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, and that does make a lot of sense. I think scientifically that goes with decreasing manipulation, right?
Yep.
So, not having your fingers in your hair all the time, manipulating it, or with a styling implement such as a comb or brush.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. So Renee Watt says, hey, Taria said she likes the mindset shift of shrinkage is a good sign, meaning that you haven't permanently deformed your hair fibers, which in turn would make it weak.
Yeah.
So, yeah, this is great information. Awesome. And so you are, it sounds like, because you mentioned earlier that you have students who you mentor.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's awesome. I definitely believe in that. So there are a number of people who want to follow in your footsteps. So how can they reach you if they need another mentor?
Yes, I am active on LinkedIn, and I think that's the best way to contact me about that.
Okay.
I check it like several times a day. So I think, yes, thank you. So the link is there. You can add me, and just, yeah, say a note like, hey, I joined the seminar, looking for any type of guidance. I'm definitely willing and love to do that. So that's the best way to reach me. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate everyone who was present with us in the comments. And I think that when we know more about science, we can definitely, like you said, that need gap we were talking about is a need to understand more. And I think if we all learn together, and it doesn't mean that you have to go to grad school and get a master's or a PhD, but just becoming aware of how it will benefit you. And
Right.
then, yeah, if you want to reach out to me, I am here to help if you have any problems because there are some people that I just recommend stay out your hair because they just don't listen. They're just used to doing the things that they want to do over and over again. And so I'm like, you know what? Are you okay with having a professional? And if you need help, then I definitely have a team of people who can support you. So thank you once again,
Of course.
Chandra. It's been a pleasure. You gave us valuable information. I think people will be able to utilize some of the advice that you gave. And I want everyone to remember that our Black hair matters. And as always, take care and love your hair. Bye bye.
Bye. Thank you.